Hello and welcome to my truck. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook and amateur baker, and I'm here on this channel typically sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today, you can tell, it's not going to be a recipe, it's going to be another truck talk. And I'm just pulling out of my driveway now so that I can have a little chat with you while I drive to the supermarket. That is really pretty much the only time I leave the house, is just to go shopping. Although Paul is on vacation this week, so maybe we will go out a little bit more often. But typically I only go out to shop, and for the most part I'm home the rest of the time. Now, first things first, my weigh-in this week went better than it's been going. Not as good as it could have been, but still in the right direction. I am down 0.6 pounds, so I'm very happy about that. I am heading in the right direction. And the one thing I keep thinking is, yes, I've lost a little bit of weight this week, and I wasn't perfect. But can you imagine how much I may have lost if I were better? Not perfect, but better. So I keep thinking about that aspect, that, you know, yes, it's good that I'm down, but if I had been just even a little bit better throughout the week, and I wasn't bad, but the weekends are usually when it gets me, because we're usually more relaxed about things, which, as I said, if I were at goal, would be fine on occasion. But since I've gone up about 25 pounds from where I want to be, I definitely need to get more focused than I am. I mean, I'm focused, I'm still trying, but I just keep giving myself a little bit of leeway on the weekends. And so far, today is Saturday. So far, I tracked yesterday and did very well. So far, I've tracked today and done very well. But it's later in the day that we often get into trouble, because I am, as many of you are, I know, a nighttime snacker. And that's just when it gets me for some reason. I don't know exactly why. I definitely have to start curtailing that more. I mean, I have curtailed a lot of it, but I do have to get it down even more, just so I can reach my goal range, and then I'll have a little leeway to be up a pound or two or down a pound or two, etc. But I just have to get back down there. And if any of you are curious about my shirt today, I am wearing another t-shirt, and I've worn it in a tag video before, I know, I'm pretty sure. And it says, "I like murder shows, comfy clothes, and maybe 3 people." I find it amusing. Once again, Paul does not, because he's afraid people will take it seriously that I'm saying I only like 3 people. And we all know that's not true. Anyway, I thought today I would talk about, first, I wanted to mention a couple of things that I, not omitted, but that I forgot about during my chat last week about my disability and my health issues. I do remember that throwing those buckets up on the porch was not the first thing I noticed. It was something a little more mundane, because I started to notice when I was getting dressed in the morning that it was harder for me to lift up my left leg and put it into my pant leg. That I would have to sit down and do it, and I didn't understand why I couldn't lift my leg up to do that. But that was all just a little aside that I was thinking about it, and I was like, wait, I remember what the first thing I noticed was, and that's what it was. But for today's topic, I'm going to go with my pal Susan, who was asking about my teaching and how I got into that and whatnot, which I think is kind of interesting, and hopefully you will too. But before I get into my teaching, I thought I would go back a little bit to give you a little piece of myself as a student, which kind of explained part of how I became a teacher, etc. So when I was in high school, actually when I was younger at all, I've always been very shy. I know it doesn't seem it on camera, but it's true. So I was always kind of like the one off to the side, keeping to himself. And in high school, that did not go over all too well, as you can imagine. I was shy, I was tall, I was overweight, and I was gay. So all of those things combined kind of made me a target. I couldn't really hide being as big as I was. And I don't mean weight-wise, but I was heavy, but I was being tall that made it a little more difficult for me to hide. But I did my best. When I would walk through the halls of the high school, I would walk up against the lockers, kind of like holding my books close, keeping my head down, hoping no one would notice me. And of course, it just made me more noticeable. So after I got out of high school and I graduated half a year early because I wanted out, I got all the credits I needed and I graduated in January. I left and started working, and I was not going back to school. I was not going to college. No way, no how. But I was working at a local supermarket, Stop and Shop, which is actually where I'm heading now, although not the one that I worked at, because I was living in Connecticut at the time. And I liked the job well enough, but I was like, I need something more. This can't be what I'm doing for the rest of my life. So 6 years after I got out of high school, I started college. I went to Eastern Connecticut State University, which was right in my hometown of Willimantic. So I went there and I focused on an English major because I wanted to write. And I thought that'd be perfect, give me all this background, etc. But then I realized, aside from writing, what could I really do with an English degree except teach? And I did not want to teach. And I think part of it was that I did not want to be in that high school environment again, or school environment. And so teaching was the furthest thing from my mind. So I thought, well, what can I do that would still tie in with my writing? So what I decided was I would change my major from English to psychology. And the reason was that would let me know more about my characters and understand what they were thinking and what their thought processes were, etc. So I switched to psychology. I graduated magna cum laude with my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in English. But then I did nothing with my psychology degree. Life just went all different directions, and for the most part, I still worked at a supermarket. Off and on, I would change to other jobs. Like when I was in New York, I was a messenger, I worked in a department store, etc., things like that. Anyway, I ended up working at a casino in Connecticut, Mohegan Sun. I worked there for a number of years, and it was while I was working there that I met my partner, Paul. And I don't think I've told the exact story, maybe. I had gotten home one night. I worked the second shift at the casino, which got me home around 2 a.m. So I would check out the online personal ads, and I was getting very tired and decided, I'm not gonna continue with this. I'm gonna go to bed. So the last thing I saw was Paul's profile, and I thought, I'm too tired to sit here and write this long letter. I want to go to bed. But I also worried that if I didn't respond, I might not find his profile again. So what I did was just sent off a quick note and just said, hi, this is going to be short. I'm really tired, but I wanted to connect with you, etc. And that was 23 years ago. So that was the beginning of the story. But how does that connect to my teaching? Or does it? I will let you know after I get done with my shopping, because I am at the store. So I'll be back in a moment. All right, so I'm done with my shopping. I got a lot more than I anticipated because Paul wanted to have a few things on hand for like grilling and things like that since he will be on vacation. And so I had to pick up a few extra things. And it was the first of the month, which means we were out of almost everything, but I got some really good deals and I will show you that later. But I was talking about how Paul ended up getting me into teaching, although it was indirectly, because when I moved up here to Massachusetts to live with him, the only job I could find was at Stop and Shop, the supermarket that I had worked at before. Because I had worked for the company before, it was a very easy in for me, so that's where I went. And then Paul's aunt, who also worked at Stop and Shop, she worked part-time at the cafeteria of the local high school. So she, knowing so many people, said, I'll get him in. And I ended up going to the high school for an interview and got a teaching assistant position. What I was going to be doing was working one-on-one with a student in the special ed department. And that became one of my favorite jobs ever because I loved my student. And if his mother is watching, because we still are in contact, hi Liz, all I basically had to do was stay with him because he needed a one-on-one aid. So by doing all of that, by working with the other students there, I started to really appreciate that environment. And I thought, maybe I could go into teaching. So what I did was, I decided I already have a degree in English. I brushed up on a few things that I hadn't worked on in quite some time and said, I'm just going to go and take the licensure test to see if I can get the license. And first try, I got my teaching certificate. It was for English, high school English. And I was still working as an aide because there were no openings in the school that I was in. But I did look around at some of the other local schools to see if they had any openings, but they didn't. However, the head of the special ed department and her assistant came to me one day and said that there was a new program they were thinking of starting. And would I be interested? It wouldn't be in English, but it would be working with the special ed department, with their students. And what I would be doing, it was a program called Project Search. And what Project Search is it puts students with special needs into a work environment. Ours happen to be in the hospital. Others have been in banks, hotels, that kind of thing. And what you do is you have a classroom in that business, and you would do an hour of teaching in the morning. Then the students would go through 3 internships during the school year. And we had different departments who were more than willing to have some of our students. We had them in housekeeping, the kitchen, in IT. So the students would pick what their favorites were, and I would try to give everyone their favorites at least one time during their rotations. We would help the students throughout the year with how to be appropriate in a work environment, how to focus on work and things like that. And over the 5 years that I did it, we got students hired, not just outside, which was often the goal, was to get them a job anywhere, but we got quite a few students jobs at the hospital. I think we got about 5 students jobs at the hospital. Now, at least in Massachusetts, when you become a teacher, you have to, within 5 years, get your master's if you don't already have it. So I signed up for a program to go for my master's in education, and I was working on that, working at the hospital with my students. which was still part of the high school, but it was our own separate environment. But that was when I started to notice the problems. That was when I had trouble putting my pants on, when I had trouble throwing bins up onto the porch, and that was where I had the problem with my foot flopping, and I asked my coworker, who was the job coach for the program, if he noticed it, and he did. So I ended up having to take a year off because I was having so many physical issues, trying to figure out what was going on. I had too many issues to work in the school environment, especially if I were to go back to the high school, which the bad thing is, once I had to retire for my disability, an opening popped up in the English department at my high school. So hoping I could have been in there and still been working in there, but my disability just made it impossible for me to work any longer. So I ended up having to apply for my pension early, and that was a whole rigmarole trying to get that situated. It took almost a year for me to get my Social Security and my pension started. And in that year, I had bills that I still needed to pay, so I ended up using credit cards and got a big pile of debt while I was waiting for my pension and my Social Security to start coming in. But that is besides the point. That is basically my teaching career. I did about 5 years in that program, had to take a year off, and I was hoping that I could go back, and it just did not work out. But I did get my master's during all of that, and it was just before I had to take the year off. I did have a few problems while I was at school, at the college, where I would sometimes have difficulty getting out of my chair and things like that. But you guys already know that from last week. So this week was just about my teaching position and how I got into it and what happened along the way. And so now you know, I started off not wanting to teach and then ended up loving teaching. I wish I had started it way back when I first considered it, when I switched my major. I wished I hadn't, or if I had, I wish I'd taken education. But hindsight is 2020, you know the deal. Anyway, I am almost home and I am done with my story. I have a lot to unpack. I don't know if I'll show you everything, but I will show you at least some of the things that I got in just a moment. All right, so I ended up deciding to show you my entire grocery haul. That is everything I picked up today, and it was about $250, which is definitely more than I usually spend, but we needed things and I got a few extras. Starting with our meats, we got some Italian sausage because Paul wanted to cook some on the grill and have some with sauerkraut because that's supposed to have some sort of health benefits, and he wanted to start eating a little more sauerkraut. I got some turkey kielbasa. Those were on sale, 2 for $7. I got some 93% ground beef to make some hamburgers and whatnot. I also got our luncheon meat. This is usually what I will have in my sandwiches is 2 ounces is 1 bite, except for the honey ham. The honey ham, because of the honey, comes out to 2 bites or blue points for a full 2 ounces. But what I usually do is 1 ounce of each. And if you have just 1 ounce of this, or up to 1.5, it's still going to be just 1 bite. So I'm going to use a little less of that and some turkey breast to get 1 bite or blue point for my sandwiches. I got some chicken breast. I got 3 packages because they were on sale, $1.99 a pound. So I will keep some in the fridge, some will be frozen. And then I got some ribeye steaks because Paul was in the mood for steaks for this week. And he will likely have to cook those because, as I've mentioned before, I'm not great on the grill. I needed some more. I can't believe it's not butter light. That is the butter that I typically use. And I used all of mine up in my last experiment for my marble cake. If any of you follow me on social media, you saw the marble cake. I decided to use some of this instead of all non-fat Greek yogurt or pumpkin puree just to get a little bit of fat in there. And it didn't really affect the bites and points as much, but I do need to tweak that just a smidge more. Here I got some unsalted butter for Paul because Paul is watching his sodium intake, so he is now using unsalted butter. I got some horseradish, and that is because I am going to try an experiment of making Alabama white sauce. Now, it's not obviously going to be the exact thing if any of you are from Alabama or know that white sauce, but I'm going to try to approximate it and perhaps use it in an upcoming barbecue collab we have in August. So I'm still experimenting with that, so I needed some horseradish. We needed some more of our Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt. As I said, I use 100 grams of that in the morning. That is only 1 bite or Blue Point. I got some frozen strawberries. Now, the reason I got frozen strawberries and so many bananas, because the other cake I've been working on is my banana split upside down cake. And I need strawberries and I need bananas, and there are a few other things down the line that I'll show you that are for that recipe, but I'm still trying to work on that one too. So I needed some extras. I got some green beans washed and trimmed, some baby carrots, and then I got some matchstick carrots because I'm going to be making salad, and rather than shaving carrots myself, I figured I would just get these and throw those in, be much easier. I got 6 ears of corn here. They were on sale, 10 for $2. I got the strawberries we usually get. It was buy 2, get 1 free for the fruit. So I got 2 blueberries, figured I could use 1 in a recipe. I got some whole carrots because another recipe that I'm going to work on is carrot cake, which one of you subscribers has asked for, and I'm going to try to work on that amongst all the other cakes that I'm trying to make. But I can't have too many sweets in the house at one time, so I do have to space them out. I got some red mini potatoes. I'm planning on making some smashed potatoes with those. Got some baby bella mushrooms because Paul likes to have mushrooms and onions with his steak, and we can also use those in our salad. I got a green pepper and 2 red peppers. The red peppers were on sale. Going to use those as well as this red onion and these little sweet tomatoes, these plum tomatoes for the salad, which I got a head of lettuce for because it doesn't take too much time to shred up this lettuce for salad, as opposed to buying a small bag of it, which was the same price. This would give me more. I got some broccoli crowns, some broccoli florets. I got 4 Prince pastas. Those were on sale. You can see I got 2 large elbows, partly because Paul wants some real mac and cheese this week, and also because that is my preferred. I don't like those little tiny elbows. I like the large ones. I got some ziti, which is Paul's favorite, and then some cavatappi, which I really like. And then these were on sale, the Fiber One chocolate caramel and pretzel bars. Those are just 2 bites each. For some reason, Fiber One has been very difficult to find, except for those little dry square cakes. I mean, I've eaten them, but I'm not a fan. I prefer these bars, which are the same number of bites or points, but this is the only one I've been able to find. They have all sorts, and I know I can get them online, but it's usually more expensive. Now, here's another item I have for the banana split upside down cake is some crushed pineapple in pineapple juice. And I'm going to be using the pineapple juice in the cake, and I am going to count it, although the reason you have to count juices and smoothies and things like that is because it is processed down so that your body is not really working to incorporate it. But since that's going to be part of a cake, I honestly don't think it should be counted, but I'm going to count it anyways, and it still comes out fairly reasonable in bites and points. I got some butterscotch sugar-free pudding. That's Paul's favorite, that and pistachio, which I got the last time. He also loves this Progresso Chicorina soup, so I got him a couple of cans of that. He also wanted some baked beans for this week to go with all the barbecue stuff he plans on doing. So I got 2 cans of those. I got a hickory brown sugar and an original. I got some lightly salted peanuts so he can watch his salt intake. I was trying to find unsalted, but they were out. Some peanut butter because we like to have that on some English muffins, toasted English muffins. So I don't mind using my points and bites if I've saved them up for the day to have some real peanut butter. Also, I got some marshmallow fluff. Now this I use a lot where I will take a graham cracker and put a little bit of the better than peanut butter chocolate on it and then a little bit of this on top of that to make a s'mores. And the amount that I use, I think you can use 1.5 teaspoons of this for 0 bites, 0 blue points. Now I got these Kedem tea biscuits. Paul loves tea biscuits. And we used to get the Nabisco brand, but they have been nowhere around here lately. So these I get, they're usually with the Jewish foods, although I noticed today that the sign above them says European. I don't know if Jewish is not proper to have your food listed as. I don't know, but it's listed under European. And you can have 6 of these for 5 bites or blue points. I'm going to be using these to make some lemon bars, so that's why I got my own separate pack. Paul has some already. Here is the sauerkraut that I got for Paul. He said that there's some health benefit. I don't know exactly what it is, but he wanted to add some more to his diet. I got some light hamburger rolls. Now these are only going to be 3 bites or blue points a piece. So I don't mind splurging a little bit and having my hamburger on a bun. As my friend Bree always says, eat the bun. Just enjoy it. Have it once in a while. It's not a big deal. I also got some more of our 100-calorie Thomas's English muffins so that we could have our peanut butter on that. I got my Snyder's mini pretzels. Now, I weigh these out, and I have about 22 grams, I believe it is, for 2 bites, and I'll have that with my sandwich during lunch. And last but not least, my delightful 45 bread, the healthy multigrain. That's my preferred bread, but sometimes I will get other brands if this isn't available, or I'm just in the mood to change it up, or if I need it for a recipe, and I'll use something else. But that is about it for my grocery haul. Okay, so that is my truck talk and grocery haul. I hope that you found this interesting. And I hope my arm is not shaking too much because I carried in all those groceries. My muscles are kind of complaining about me holding the phone this way. But I'm going to wrap it up here before I shake the phone and throw it across the room. So until next time, bye.